I have received consent, and this is just the audio that's being recorded, so not to worry. And it will be posted on our region website, which is naranonontario.com. Usually takes a few days, and then you can listen to it again and share the link with people. So to avoid background noise, please remember to mute your microphone unless you're sharing. And so let's have a moment of silence now for the friends and family members who have not yet found the rooms of Naranon. And I'd also like to acknowledge at this time that it's the International Day of Overdose Awareness. I think I've got that right. There's activities and things that are happening all over the world. So, you know, if you get an opportunity to give some thought to that and some prayers to those of us who have lost their loved ones. And I know that there are some here tonight. So thanks very much for being here. So let's take a moment now for the Serenity Prayer. I'm trying to get it on screen. Okay, the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let's just do a few readings tonight. We'll start, if I can have someone read the Newcomer's Welcome.
I can do that if you like. It's Carolyn.
I like Carolyn, thank you.
The Naranon Family Group is primarily for you who know or have known a feeling of desperation concerning the addiction problem. Oh my gosh, I don't think I can do it, Lisa.
Okay, no problem. Would someone else like to pick up for the Carolyn, please?
I can do. Oh, go ahead.
Was it Lena?
Yes.
Go ahead, Lena.
Okay. The Naranon Newcomers Welcome. The Naranon Family Group is primarily for you who know or have known a feeling of desperation concerning the addiction problem of someone very near to you. We have traveled that unhappy road too and found the answer with serenity and peace of mind. When you come into the family group, you are no longer alone, but among true friends who understand your problem as few others could. We will respect your confidence and anonymity, as we know you will respect ours. We hope to give you the assurance that no situation is too difficult and no unhappiness is too great to be overcome. Our program, which is not a religious one, but a spiritual way of life, is based on the 12 steps of Naranon. We have found that the working of these steps will bring the solution to practically any problem. We urge you to take this program and its 12 steps seriously. It has been as helpful to us as the Narcotics Anonymous program is to the addict. We only ask for the wisdom and courage to see ourselves as we really are and to do something about ourselves with the help of a higher power as we understand this, and for the grace to release our addicts with love and cease trying to change them. Keep an open mind and attend as many meetings as possible. Feel free to share during the meeting. You may ask questions after the meeting. You will soon make new friends and will feel very much a part of the group. With the understanding that addiction is a disease and the realization that we are powerless over it, as well as over other people's lives, we are ready to do something useful and constructive with our own. Then and only then can we be of any help to others. Thanks for letting me read.
Thank you, Lena. Can I have someone read the 12 steps, please?
This is Lois. I can do that.
Okay, Lois, go ahead.
Okay. The 12 steps of Naranon family groups. 1. We admitted we were powerless over the addict, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Okay, the 12 traditions. Can I have someone read the 12 traditions?
I can do that. This is Betty.
Okay, Betty, go ahead.
The 12 traditions of Nar-Anon family groups. Our group experience suggests that the unity of the Nar-Anon family groups depends upon our adherence to these traditions. Number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal progress for the greatest number depends on unity. 2, for our group purposes, there's but one authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. 3, the relatives of addicts, when gathered for mutual aid, may call themselves an Nar-Anon family group, provided that as a group they have no other affiliation. The only requirement for membership is that there be a problem of addiction in a relative or friend. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other Nar-Anon family groups or NA as a whole. 5, each Nar-Anon family group has but one purpose, to help families of addicts. We do this by practicing the 12 steps of Nar-Anon, by encouraging and understanding our addicted relatives, and by welcoming and giving comfort to families of addicts. 6, our family groups ought never to endorse, finance, or lend our name to any outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary spiritual aim. But although a separate entity, we should always cooperate with Narcotics Anonymous. 7, every group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Nar-Anon 12th step work should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, our groups as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, the Nar-Anon family groups have no opinion on outside issues, hence our name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, films, internet, and other forms of mass media. We need guards with special care the anonymity of all NA members. And 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles above personalities. Thank you for letting me serve.
Thank you, Betty. Okay, and one last reading, and I don't have it to be able to put on screen, but could someone read today's sesh? The August 29th?
I can do that. This is Pam.
Okay, Pam, go ahead.
All right, and it's on page 242 in the sesh book. Feelings. I have learned in Nar-Anon that feelings just are. One day, I decided it was time for me to start thawing out. I was ready to feel the feelings I had frozen for so many years. It was time to face the reality of drug addiction and confront it head on. I realized that having someone I love seriously addicted to drugs was like feeling the death of that person. At the very least, it was like the death of my dreams for that person and me. All the feelings of sadness and pain came to the surface. I knew I had been suffering them for too long. It was time to grieve this loss and start living the only life I have to live, my own. I was ready to start my journey of recovery. If others chose to avoid help and let addiction ruin their lives, then so be it. It will make me sad. It may anger me, disgust me, and make my heart ache. It is okay to feel these feelings today, as long as I do not stay there very long. With the support of the Narnan Fellowship, I will keep my grace and dignity, and I will hold on to some kind of happiness. My contentment will not come from things I cannot control. It will come from my inner self. Thought for today. I am willing to try, even though at times I will fail. I will also succeed and try some more. Through it all, I will make progress. This is the time I need to be patient with myself. Soon I will grow stronger and wiser because of my willingness to work a good program and attend meetings on a consistent basis. And the quote from Abraham Lincoln, "Let no feeling of discouragement prey upon you, and in the end, you are sure to succeed." Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you, Pam. That's great. I needed to hear that today. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the announcements I normally read, but our seventh tradition, as you know, we have no dues or fees, but we do have costs from the Zoom platform and other regional costs. You can make donations for Ontario Speak and to support the Narnan program and its services. We are fully self-supporting through our own contributions. So you can e-transfer or PayPal your contribution to helpinghandandheart22@gmail.com. And if you want, you can identify it from Ontario Speak. The next Ontario Speak is October 31st. So if you're interested in being a speaker, either as somebody from Narnan or somebody from NA or other 12-step programs, just reach out to helpinghandandheart22@gmail.com. So let's dive in. We've got two great speakers, as I said. So we'll start tonight with Lisa C., same as me. Someone actually asked me, Lisa, if it was me that was speaking again tonight, but I said, no, it's my twin sister. So Lisa, I will turn it over to you and you go for it.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm so thankful that I found Narnan almost 4 years ago. For 3 years, 10 months, and 25 days, I've been a grateful member of Narnan. I'd never heard of Narnan or Narcotics Anonymous. I knew of AA and Al-Anon. I knew there were 12-step groups that helped addicts and their family members. AA for support and recovery from drinking, but I thought that Al-Anon was for support for the family while they worked to help their addicted loved one to get off the alcohol that was controlling their lives and making their family members' lives miserable. Excuse me. I quickly learned that Narnan exists so we can recover from our addiction to our loved ones and all the unhappiness that causes. For those of you who are new to the meetings, welcome. You're in the right place, and I'm glad you found us. You are not alone. And welcome to the NA members here tonight as well. I qualify as a member of Narnan because my ALO, or addicted loved one, is my adult son. He has been using substances for 15 years. He did manage to abstain for about 50 days this year, but is back in active addiction. I also have a daughter, my firstborn. Both my children had a normal childhood and upbringing. To my knowledge, my daughter does not have a substance use disorder. You will hear me saying substance use disorder and addiction interchangeably during my talk tonight. I also have 2 grandchildren, I believe. In 2018, my husband and I became estranged from our daughter and first grandchild at that time. In 2021, she gave birth to a second child. I have no idea its birth date, gender, what it looks like, its name, or anything. I also have no idea if there are any more grandchildren. I have zero hope for a resolution to a relationship with my daughter and grandchildren. She also cut her brother and everyone from our side of the family out of her life. I have grieved the loss of our daughter and our grandchildren, even though they're still alive, as far as I know. When anyone asks how many children I have, I say one, a son. If they ask if I have grandchildren, I say no. So our son started using drugs in grade 11 or 12 of high school. He also started drinking around that time too. He was underage. I remember he would sleep until the afternoon, and his moods were very volatile. Anytime I asked him about the late wake times, he would tell me he was a teen and he needed the extra sleep. Thinking that my son would never lie to me, I believed him. When he would wander into the kitchen with bloodshot eyes and large pupils, I asked him about it, and he would say it was allergies. My baby wouldn't lie to me. We taught him it was wrong to lie. So I believed him. He would maintain eye contact even when he lied to my face. In these meetings, we hear, if an addict's mouth is moving, they're probably lying. There was a time when I found a receipt of his that showed a purchase of drug paraphernalia, and I questioned him about it, asking if it was his. He said he bought it for a friend because they were short of money and they really needed it, but they promised to pay him back as soon as they could. I was suspicious, but I believed him. He managed to graduate from high school and got into a university program. He worked 4 jobs so he could save up enough money to pay for a residence. We live in the same city, so it wasn't necessary. He managed to complete his first semester. However, he failed his second semester and got kicked out of residence for fighting. That's what he told us. After a period of living on a couch at a friend's place who was also using, he moved back home. He got random jobs and paid a token amount of rent to us. We were hoping he would sort himself out. At this time, we were still unaware of the drug use. One time when he was working, I decided to neaten up his room, although that was his responsibility. While moving things around in his closet so I could clean, I found drugs and drug paraphernalia and cigarettes. I felt like I got gut punched and felt sick. In my heart, I knew it had to be his. I removed the stuff from his closet and put it in a plastic bag. Several hours later, he returned home from work and I showed him what I found. He said it wasn't his. I've never been so angry in my life. I screamed at him and accused him of lying to me. I needed to get rid of it. My first thought was to flush it down the toilet, but quickly realized that it could damage the toilet. Imagine the embarrassment if a plumber found it. I nixed that idea. I thought about putting it in the garbage in the garage, but I knew he'd probably dig it back out. I just wanted it out of the house. So I drove to a gas station and dumped the bag in a garbage bin at the gas pumps. After I drove back home, I came back to sanity and realized that the gas station has cameras to keep an eye on people filling their gas tanks. The realization that my act of dumping the drugs was caught on camera showed me how insane I was at that moment. Talk about a different level of fear. So a while later, I found drugs again. Same scene, same yelling, same accusing him. Only this time he didn't lie. He said they were his, but he promised he would stop using. I believed him this time. I had to get rid of the drugs again, this time someplace without cameras. I drove to a community center. It was a Sunday and there were no programs on. I dumped them in an outside garbage bin. After, I sat in my car for about half an hour and cried and screamed. How could my son have gotten so messed up in this lifestyle? How could I have been so stupid to have ignored all the signs? I didn't know what to believe and what to suspect. Eventually, I stopped crying and drove home. I never told my husband where I got rid of the drugs, and I never will. At some point, sanity returned, and I realized that at the community center, children take part in programs, and there was a chance that a child might find the bag of drugs. My life was unmanageable. In high school, our son would complain to me or his father or to his friends, saying, Dad's been riding my ass, or Mom's been riding my ass, with regards to us bugging him to do his homework and not going out with friends all the time, when he was supposed to be devoting time to his schoolwork. Riding his ass or putting the pressure on him or hounding him, it's all the same. While this did have some short-term positive effect, it never instilled in him the motivation to be self-directed as far as schoolwork was concerned. We were the ones in the driver's seat, not him. So somehow I thought this method would transfer to when we discovered him using drugs. Schoolwork? Drugs? Nope, it didn't work. Excuse me. After a number of years, my son moved to the other side of the country. During a visit back home, he told me he had been using for 12 years. I was shocked. And he said he blamed me for his using. Since I never forced drugs into him, I knew that wasn't true. However, I did have guilt that maybe I could have been a better parent, and I should have recognized the signs. I learned in Nar-Anon about the 3 C's. I didn't cause it, I can't control it, and I can't cure it. Before Nar-Anon, however, I did believe I could somehow help him to stop using. Believe me, I tried everything. I pleaded, I shouted, I nagged, I berated. I threw out his drugs 2 times. I tried to talk sense into him. I told him to go to an NA meeting. I told him to go to the hospital to get treatment. I tried to convince him to move back home so we could help him. Guess what worked? Nothing. All it did was piss him off and make him not communicate with us. Of course, that made me more insane, wondering what he was doing and wondering about his welfare. My one sister told me I should tell him to smarten up, and that would get him to turn around. Gee, I never thought about that, if it were only that easy. My other sister told me I was too soft on him growing up. She has 2 daughters who never smoked, took drugs, or veered from the straight and narrow. What did she know? During phone or Skype calls with him, I could tell when he had been using. It was so upsetting for me. So many times I would go to bed and cry and would have dreams or nightmares about him with bad outcomes. I was scared that he would overdose and die. One time he woke us up in the middle of the night, freaking out on the phone, telling us he was in a field somewhere and didn't know where he was. Of course, over 4,500 kilometers away, what were we supposed to do? Another time he called me when I was at the grocery store in a panic. I spent 1.5 hours in the cereal aisle trying to calm him down, only to be told repeatedly that I didn't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I wonder what the staff who watched the customers on the store security cameras were thinking about me. This was insanity. Excuse me. How did my addicts using affect me? There were months that after I got out of bed in the morning to get ready for work, all I wanted to do was crawl back in. I got depression. I had nightmares about him. I had to navigate a cancer diagnosis and later surgery and recovery. Although not directly related to his using, it certainly didn't help things. I ended up with a heart condition that started with the estrangement of my daughter and grandchildren and got much worse over the years of my son's using. I had a stroke last year. When I was in hospital for 4 days, one night he called me, complaining about something, and he ended up asking me for money. I had just had a stroke. I found out later that he never called my husband at that time. I've had my own mental health challenges that I'm working on right now. Nearly 4 years ago, I was so sick and tired trying to get my son well, and all my efforts weren't working. I was in a very stressful job as well that added to everything on top of it. I knew something had to change. I was embarrassed and exhausted. Out of desperation, excuse me. Out of desperation, I Googled help for parents whose child uses drugs. Nar-Anon popped up. October 4th, 2021, I attended my first virtual Nar-Anon meeting. And I kept coming back for more meetings. I was among friends who knew and understood where I was at, like no one else could. I heard the 3 C's. I didn't cause it, I can't control it, and I can't cure it. I learned the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I say the serenity prayer many times a day. I had a real problem trying to distinguish the difference between what I could change and what I couldn't. As a mother, I should be able to fix my son. Lord knows I certainly tried. At my first meeting, I learned I was a newcomer, and there were old timers too. My plan, though, was to learn what I needed in order to fix my son, and then everything would be good, and I wouldn't need the meetings anymore. Some members had been coming to meetings for a few days, some a few weeks, some months, years, and even decades. That would not be me. I quickly learned that was not how the program works. Narcotics Anonymous is for the person with a substance use disorder, for their recovery. Nar-Anon is for my recovery. They say you need newcomers to tell you where you came from, old timers to tell you where you could go, and a sponsor to tell you where you are at. I had been acting like I was my son's higher power. If he would only listen to me, he would get better. Who do I think I am? How dare I think that I have that much power? My son has his own higher power, and I'm not it. And I am not his 24/7 helpline. If I don't stay in my own lane and out of his business, he can't possibly recover. Is that really what I want? In a meeting, I still remember hearing a speaker from NA saying he recovered from his addiction, but it wasn't because of anything his mother said or did. There are some slogans that help me. Detach, DETACH. Don't even think about changing him or her. I have to regularly remind myself of this. This says that nothing I ever say or do will stop his addiction. Wait, WAIT, and sometimes I add an extra T. Why am I talking? Or why am I thinking about talking? Nothing good is going to come out of me giving him advice again or bothering him. It's like in the Peanuts comics, where Charlie Brown is in class and the teacher is talking. All he hears is wah, 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 wah. That's what my son must hear when I talk. Hope, HOPE. Hold on, pain ends. Mine, not his. Or hold on, peace exists. Again, mine, not his. There are 2 days of the week which we have no control over, yesterday and tomorrow. Today is the only day we can change, just for today. Don't make a decision when in a fog, FOG, fear, obligation, guilt. Pause, PAUSE, postpone action until serenity emerges. In other words, sleep on it rather than acting or speaking impulsively. The healing is in the hearing. Expectations are disappointments waiting to happen. This I've written on an index card and it's on my dining room table, and I look at it every day as a reminder to stay in the present and stop future tripping. I have no idea what will happen. I'm not God. It's not my right to plan out my ALO's life for him or anyone else's. That's his responsibility. I would like to talk about enabling. Enabling means doing for the addict what they can do for themselves. I'm embarrassed now when I think of how many times my ALO would call us from 4,500 kilometers away and start building his story about how he'd been trying so hard to get his life on track, or how much he'd been suffering. In other words, he was throwing us the fishing line repeatedly and hoping we would feel so bad or so sorry for him that we'd take the bait. It was always the same script, and it was never his fault. He wanted us to believe. The conclusion of the call came with his request for money. It was too expensive out there. He wasn't making enough money. The landlord raised the rent. So many times we got suckered into the stories. We sent money, food items, clothes, gift cards, you name it. I saw on Kijiji one time the beautiful sweater we gave him for Christmas. He was selling it for cash. He was always selling his possessions. I couldn't understand why. I now know why. Everything equals cash, which can be used for his addiction. I was so naive. I heard a member sharing in a meeting that she resists enabling her adult child because she doesn't want to be responsible if her enabling leads them to overdose and dying. That really hit me hard. That's what I fear too. If my money goes to him buying and using drugs, I am furthering his addiction, which could lead to his death. My son has struggled with mental health problems since his mid-teens. Suicide ideations with one near miss, which took him to the psychiatric ward of the hospital, are things my husband and I have had to deal with, on top of my cancer, heart issues, and stroke. The drugs have caused paranoia and reckless, dangerous decisions. I have no control over him. So many days I have grieved for him, even though he's still alive at the moment. My son is more than his addictions. As much as I'd love for him to be abstinent, there is not a damn thing I can do to make that happen. He has a disease. While I love my son, I hate the addiction. I've learned that despite parenting him as he grew up the best way I could not control his choices. I hope one day he will get his recovery. I have to stop mothering him. I have to stop smothering him. I'm working on my recovery. I have worked through the steps, but I have recently got a sponsor to help guide me through the step work. I wish I had gotten a sponsor years ago, but I'm grateful to have one now. For the newcomers, don't wait for as long as I did. I continue to read my Nar-Anon literature, the Sesh book, Sharing Experience, Strength, and Hope, and Nar-Anon 36. For the newcomers, the Sesh book is our daily reader, where we can read each day about inspiration, hope for our own recovery, and to get strength when we are at our lowest. In the back index, we can look up any feeling, emotion, the 12 steps, etc. The Nar-Anon 36 is our steps workbook. As we work through the steps, we learn new ways of conducting ourselves and work on our own recovery, not our addicts. At a speaker meeting a long time ago, someone said that religion is for those who fear hell. Spirituality is for those who have already been there. Nar-Anon is a spiritual program, not a religious one. I attend meetings not only to get support and hope for myself, but also to give my support, hope, and experience to other members. I share during the meetings and do topic leads, and it's easy. We have a script to read from, and it's a form of service. I encourage everyone to give it a try. This is my second time as an Nar-Anon speaker. We can recover, and we do recover. While this is a group we never would have wanted to join, I'm so thankful it exists, where I can lean on others for support with no judgment, where I can share what I've done good for myself each week, even if, and especially when, I've just attended a meeting. I'm very grateful to be allowed to share this evening with Luke from Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm looking forward to hearing his share tonight. For everyone, including the newcomers here tonight and the NA members, keep coming back. It works if you work it, so work it, you're worth it. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Lisa. Great
Thanks,
job.
Lisa.
Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa.
Keep coming back. Just before we go on, Luke, there is somebody that I've been trying to get their attention. Someone who just logged in using a Samsung. I don't know if that's a telephone or a tablet. I just need confirmation that you're in fact a real person. Samsung. Oops, you didn't have to leave. Anyway, sorry. We do insist that people do use a name just to make sure it's not AI, because let's face it, that's the world we live in. Okay, thanks. I'm going to turn it over to you, Luke, and you can bring us home.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you, Lisa C, for your heartfelt story. My name's Luke. I'm an alcoholic addict. Pretty much anything that was gonna help me leave this planet and make me feel good. I got pretty emotional there listening to Lisa share. Because in 12-step groups for the alcoholic and the addict, I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. It's the only place in the world that we can go get a standing ovation to pick up a chip for blowing our life up. And leaving, I'm thinking about this meeting right now. There's 45 people on it. And so that means each of the people on these screens have either a son, daughter, husband who is, or somebody close to them that's in active addiction. And then you add on, maybe there's a sibling that's close to that sibling, or kids that are close to that parent. And so this 45 number on here, you start timesing that by 4 to 5. I know all my aunts and uncles suffered my addiction with a Christmas blow up back in my past. So you think about all the people that are touched by this disease. Just this meeting alone, there's probably 100, maybe even more that have been touched, that connects all of us. And so I'm really grateful that back years and years ago when like AA was developed, that eventually, Al-Anon and then Nar-Anon and stuff like this got developed, because the focus honestly is a lot on the addict and the alcoholic. As myself, I did suffer all those years, but it also caused a lot of pain for everybody around me that wanted to see me do good and love me and wanted to try and help, right? And so it means a lot for me to see all of you guys on these screens. You guys have a community. My mom hasn't stepped into one of these communities, and I could still see the PTSD that she suffers from all that time. I'm over 2.5 years sober. I got sober the first time 2019, had a relapse 3.5 years in. But yeah, my parents don't have this group. They know it's out there. It's been shared, but I do think sometimes we can get caught behind that. As long as this situation in my life is doing okay, I will be okay. But you can see where the effects of that is when I am at home with my parents, because if I don't have a smile on my face 24/7, mom's like, alerts are up. What's going on? Are you all right? Or the other day, I'm pretty good with a calendar today. I'm kind of responsible today. Imagine that. Like my mom actually did do my laundry till I went to rehab the first time at 27 years old. It's embarrassing, but I know my mom just loved her baby boy and wanted to see him do good. And I don't think any parent got a playbook when we were born that says if this child becomes an addict or an alcoholic, this is what you need to do. My mom was trying the best she possibly could. I came from a loving family. Like Lisa was explaining with her kids. I have an older brother. He's 11 years older sister. My brother's a firefighter, sister's a teacher. They didn't give my parents much of a hard time. My mom wanted another child. My dad's like, no, the two's fine. And they end up having this third one that was like, woo, came in like a wrecking ball. And so I had everything I needed growing up. I had a good home. I had, all my needs were met. There was trouble in elementary school. I was diagnosed with learning disability and ADHD, and now I call it learning difficulty. I think my friend Sandra there has helped me out there with it because that's something that used to hold me back a lot. But when I was diagnosed with it, the psychiatrist told my mom that your son has a learning disability, he's ADHD. What I heard was your son's stupid. And he's not going anywhere in life. And as a young child, around 8, 9 years old, I'm riddled with fear. I could have used a double Ryan Ginger walking out of that office in the school. And then yeah, I got to high school, started experimenting with pot, and I'll never forget my like first drunk. It was like the whole world changed. I was in a garage with my friends, drank these Vex drinks. They quote unquote back in high school were supposed to be the girly drinks. I wasn't into the beer, but they made me feel good. And from there, I took off in high school every weekend, drink, drink, drink. I was able to do it at a girlfriend's house where my parents didn't know what kind of drinking was really going on. And there's some trauma stuff that happened in high school that we don't gotta get into detail about it, but sexual abuse stuff that happened in my early teens, which kind of led I started drinking a lot more. But all I knew is for such a long time I was uncomfortable in my skin, and when I found alcohol and drugs, it I came alive. I finally came alive and I could be who I was. I wasn't stupid. I could talk to people. I could be comfortable in my skin. And loving that feeling, you don't think that it's going to bring you into this dark place. And like Lisa shared, like off the hop with the late wake up times, like that was like one of those things with my parents, like at the early stages of like, how are you sleeping until 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And I would come up with certain excuses, and then my mom finding paraphernalia and stuff like that. It started off with, oh, I'm holding that for Tommy or whatever. She's like, you don't have a friend, Tommy. And it just slowly started progressing like that. And there's so many things in Lisa's story that I can relate to. And then it gets to that point when I'm out of high school and I'm now really starting to drink a lot more. I'm getting into harder drugs. And my mom's finding stuff where now I'm just saying like, okay, you caught me, like I'm gonna quit. I was always making those promises that I'm not gonna do this. And Lisa said something else too with the like clean her son's room and finding these things. Like that's how it started with my mom. Then my mom became a full-blown FBI agent. My house was raided at one point when I was 22 by Peel Regional Police. My mom had more success finding the things in the house than those police did. She was just on the ball with her stuff, and what's sad about that is it took away attention from her other two kids. She was so consumed with what was going on with Luke that her mind was absolutely consumed with it. And the more and more my mom wanted to get me help and would tell me what I needed to do, like I heard in this meeting, the more and more I would rebel, the more and more I would push away. And it got to points where I was having arguments with my mom and calling her some pretty mean names. Another thing I'm not proud of, one time she came to kind of disrupt a drinking day that I was having because I had one of their vehicles, which it was under their insurance, and they know I'm drinking. The right thing they want to do is get that vehicle away from me before I end up killing somebody, killing myself, or getting them into trouble. And I remember being very under the influence with drugs, with alcohol. And my mom was in the driver's seat of the van when my dad went and grabbed the truck. And I was, of course, like raging over this. And I remember going inside the van and pulling the seatbelt up on my mom's neck. Her son that she loves, that, has been there going in and out of the schools for me, trying to help me out, bring me all sorts of doctor's appointments. I'm getting to the place where I'm treating her like that. And I remember her saying, like, I don't even know you like anymore. I have no clue who you are. So eventually back in 2019, not to go through all the war stories, because everything I heard Lisa share, I'm sure like everybody has experienced this. And that's where like I get emotional being in these meetings because I can be in my meetings and it's very easy to forget when you're in a meeting with 20 people who are there for recovery. It's easy to forget who outside of that meeting is suffering that's part of their family. It's very easy to forget of how many other people are actually suffering through that. It's not just us. It's the family members. And so I ended up getting arrested. I got into a relationship because one of the biggest things was is my brother was successful. He was a firefighter. My sister was a teacher. They were having kids and families, and it was good things for my parents to talk about. And like you would see people ask my mom and dad, like, how's my brother's name's Benny, how's Benny doing? He's like, oh, good, Captain Markham Fire, he's doing great. Just had his second, his son Cole, and then how's Lindsay doing? Oh, she's a teacher. She's got her family, the two kids, and it's like, how's Luke doing? And you could see like my parents like heads kind of drop, like they needed to like kick rocks and be like, well, he's coming along. Like they would grasp for things because let's face it, their son was I was out of it. Like I couldn't show up. I was unreliable. I was very selfish with them. I was very mean with them. It was all about Luke. And yeah, I was suffering in my own ways trying to navigate that. But something that people forget, it comes out very selfishly. Like it comes out very nasty and comes out very selfishly. And that's what you see. Like for the example, like my parents are trying to help me, but I'm treating them like they're the worst people in the world. I'm threatening them. They make any threats to pull the safety nets out from under me. I'm making threats back at them. Like, and these are the people that brought me into this world. And the alcohol and drugs, once it got a hold of me, like nobody was getting in my way for me to keep feeding my addiction. And there was nothing my mom, Lisa said the best that she heard a speaker say, there was nothing my mom or dad could have done or said that would have just made me flip a switch like that. I also had an aunt tell my mom, you're too soft on him. You just got to really get a hold of them and wake them up there. And this aunt has no experience with this stuff like that. And that's not her fault. She just, people are ignorant to it. They have no experience, but they do give those opinions. So I relate to that. So I ended up getting arrested in 2019. I met a girl who had two kids. My brother and sister had kids. My parents were very proud of them. I thought maybe I'll have a little makeshift family here and, I can get my life together. I was always looking for things that would help me get my life together, but it was always the wrong thing. So I'm in this relationship. I was able always to put this mask on of my addiction's not that bad, and my drinking's not that bad, to just kind of like lure somebody into liking me and like falling in love with me. And I could never show up honestly and authentic because if she knew how I felt about myself inside, she's gonna reject me. So I was always playing that character. And as that relationship went on, of course, what happens? I start getting, she finds out I'm actually doing drugs. She finds out I'm drinking a lot more than I said, and I'm constantly lying to her. I'm manipulating, just like I've been doing to my parents. And I ended up having a blackout one night, and it was pretty bad. A lot of bad things happened that night when I came to the next day, and this girlfriend explained what happened. And I promised I would never drink again. I was ashamed of it. Like I'm like, I really done it this time. There was damage to the house property. I actually physically hurt her. She had a mark on her. I don't remember a single thing. And throughout the next month, we were trying to work on things. I went and moved in with her and we were patching things up. And I wasn't drinking for about 2 weeks, but eventually over time, the noise and the shame and the guilt and the what if everybody knows what happens is coming to the forefront. So I end up disappearing for a week and going on a big binge. I come back from that binge and I end up having another blackout night at a party that we go to and end up getting arrested in 2019. That was the start of my recovery journey. By this time, most of my family had nothing to do with me. Nobody, my brother and sister, nothing, couldn't see the kids. Even when I got into recovery, I went to jail, then went to rehab, did 35 days in rehab, and then came out I was going to go into NA. I went to some meetings because I was a big drug user, but I ended up sticking more towards the AA because alcohol was such a big thing, and I related the way alcohol would come into me. So I got into recovery, got a sponsor, started working the steps. A counselor in the rehab said to me, if you don't get a sponsor, get a home group, work these steps, you're going to end up dead, in jail, or back here. I was a pretty good, like, kind of threat. Like, he looked pretty serious, but I was pretty serious to do the work. So I started building my life back up and getting recovery. I was suggested to go see a therapist for some of the trauma stuff, but I kind of thought, the steps were going to be enough, and I was building my life back up. I was connecting to this higher power that they talked about, which I was somebody who was totally against God before recovery. I remember my mom would be sprinkling holy water on my bed when I'd go out because she was afraid that she was going to get the phone call that I'm not here anymore or what's going to happen. And I would put her down for that. I'd be like, there's no such thing as a God. Like, stop being a child. And like, this poor lady just, again, just wants her son to get help, and this disease has me in such a bad way where I have like no regard for life and no respect. So I'm in recovery. I'm starting to build my life. My brother and sister start coming around. I start being able to see my nieces and nephews. The first 2 years was really good. I ended up getting into a relationship. Wasn't ready to be in a relationship. Still haven't worked on myself a lot. And next thing you know, I start getting dishonest. I'm dating a girl I really shouldn't be dating in recovery. I'm still on bail for my charges. I'm starting to break my bail conditions to see her. So I'm starting to go down that bad path again. What ends up happening as I'm building all that back up in my life, I end up snapping. I end up breaking a cell phone. I end up going back to jail, and I relapsed before I went to jail. Went to jail for the week, got bail. My parents actually bailed me out. As soon as I got home, I drank a bottle of wine and did some leftover drugs that I had from the night I got arrested. 3 weeks goes by, I can't get sober. I end up in jail again because I contact this girl with a no contact order. I end up in jail, and one of the best things my parents did, and actually a few people did, is I called my parents, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't even know what to say. And for the first time, my mom actually was like, yeah, I don't know what to say either, but you're on your own. Like, I can't do this anymore. We were just in the middle of getting a new lawyer, and my dad, the same thing. We can't do this anymore. I called a friend in the program who was helping me out. He said, Luke, I'm sorry, man, I can't help you. Called a neighbor. That neighbor said, sorry, Luke, you're going to have to figure this one out. And I remember sliding down the wall by the phones that day in jail, just feeling like it's over. And I went on I think that was December 29th. I started looking for every drug I could in Maplehurst Corrections Facility. I was never a fentanyl user. I was constantly asking guys to find me fentanyl because I had a plan. My plan was to get out of here. I've disappointed everybody, disappointed myself. I was trading things for people's medication, their mental health medication in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night. And I ended up coming down from a bunch of stuff. The guy couldn't get me fentanyl, and it was around January 17th. And there's this book on the bottom of the bunk that I started reading, and it was about a guy who found God in jail that owns a bunch of recovery centers out in PEI. And as I'm reading this book, it's my mind's like getting drawn to it and drawn to it. And I've already believed in God and a higher power. And I got off that top bunk and hit my knees by the window and just asked God, like, there's a prayer there, but I don't want to feel anymore. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do drugs. I'm sick of effing up my life. I need your help. I'm willing to do anything. And I remember going to bed that night on the bunk and tears in my eyes, shaking. I was coming down from Suboxone. And the next day, I didn't want to do any drugs. And this chaplain came by my cell. His name's Chaplain Lois, and he's South African, great guy. And he knew I was in recovery somehow, and he like poked me in the chest and was like, "Man, you're gonna make your way out of here. You're worth it. And come to my program." And so I ended up going to a couple of his programs while I was in Maplehurst. And a month later, my parents, we talked, and they made a hard decision to bail me out of jail. And if they didn't bail me out this time, which they risked a lot financially, I'd still be sitting in there because I'm still waiting for a decision September 8th on that trial of whether I could be going to prison for a few years or maybe not. So I get out, go to rehab again. I'm gonna make this short because I know it's almost 8 o'clock. Um, and I was ready to just do whatever I could. I went and got a new sponsor, a guy that loves putting the mirror up in front of your face and calling you out a little bit, because that's what I needed. Because I'm a manipulator. Like I can manipulate. I can make it sound very like everything's okay. And I got this new sponsor, started working the steps again, started getting very involved with sponsoring guys again, like pretty quick. And I started doing some stuff outside of the rooms with advocating for mental health and addiction. And as time's gone by, I think one of the biggest gifts is my sister waited. My nephew wasn't able to get baptized, no, christened when he was born because he had a heart condition, and then COVID hit. So she waited and waited. And 2 Septembers ago, I was about a year sober again. My nephew comes running through the door, Uncle Luke, and he's got a card. I'm like, it's not my birthday. What is this? And he gets me open the card, and the card says, "Will you be my godfather?" And, this is, I start crying because there's a time where Lindsay, my sister, would not have that kid near me. I was so unpredictable. My brother wouldn't have the kids near me because I was so unpredictable. Um, and so as I'm building up these relationships with my brother, my sister, my mom and dad, today I've been starting a painting company called Recovery Painting, and the goal is to, eventually hire. I needed a chance when I came into recovery, and it was a guy in Alcoholics Anonymous that gave me some work to help me out, and I want to try and set something up like that, and have an environment where guys can be at work and also be vulnerable and talk about stuff, because a lot of times on job sites you got to suck it up, right? Also too, through doing stuff on social media, I had a therapist reach out to me, which has led to me being a part-time peer support with a youth addictions place called Alternative Youth. I get to talk to kids that are exactly like me at the ages of like 13, 14, 15. I'm still going to my meetings. I'm still sponsoring guys. I do have a court date on the 8th that tells the decision of this trial. It was a very complicated trial with extreme intoxication. The Crown wants 7 to 8 when I decide to go to trial. I don't know if she'll get that, even if I was convicted. But the way I look at it is God's blessed me beyond I could imagine already. It hasn't failed me yet. If I got work to do in there, if the work is to do in there and there's something for me to learn there, that's where I'll go sit for a little bit and I'll be okay. If my work's to do out here, this is where I will sit, and I'll be out here continuing to do the own thing. There's something I want to share about my sister too, and I had that relapse to just bring it back a bit to. There's really not much people can say or do to get me recovered. My sister, before I picked up a drink, sent me a picture of my niece and nephew. That wasn't enough for me not to go to that bar and pick up that drink and go down to another establishment to get drugs before I got arrested. And so I always, in my perspective, is there was nothing somebody could really do to force me to get into that recovery. But I had to get somewhere. Something had to switch for me. And now I can never blame my alcoholism, my addiction on the things I've done in my past. The disease I'm not responsible for, but I am responsible for my recovery. So if it's my choice to not work on my own recovery and do the things that I need to do, that's me making that choice, which is putting all of you family members in jeopardy if I go back out. Because it's enough that my parents have suffered. I don't need to keep putting that ball on them more and more and more again. And I tell my dad, I always tell my dad, because I know he felt like this. I don't know if anybody of you guys felt like this, but he always thought it was his fault. He always thought, what could he have done different? And I can truly say I'm not a parent yet, so I can't take that away from him. But I can say deep down in my heart, there was nothing different my dad and mom could have done. They did the absolute best they could do. And I just want to thank all of you guys for doing the best that you can do for yourself. And getting the help that you guys need, because the family members do get forgot about a lot. And I always remember that when we're picking up chips in AA meetings, the people that need the chips are the parents, the brothers, the sisters, the ones that have poured out their never ending love. And then finally we put them in a position where they had to set boundaries. And I'm grateful for the boundaries that my family set, and I'm grateful for the ones you guys are learning to set. And I love you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Luke.
Luke.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Luke.
Luke.
Thank you, Luke.
With you guys.
Thank you, Luke.
I'm going to end the recording here.